okay, Wes, even though you didn't get the present. Yes. Yes, support Petronas. Thank you very much. So this is an idea launch. I am not losing my voice. It is the energy. It's not flowing through the mic. Yes, now the energy is there. Right. So I'm going to talk about the energy transition. Right. And climate impacts. What we can do as an industry. What we can do. Some ideas. Right. And it's got to do, the clues are here as well. Not the bubble gums. The clues are here. So can we have the first slide, please? Oh, I click. Okay, right. So I'm talking about how to mitigate climate change impacts, what we can do as an industry, not as an individual. Just now you played the game, it was more for your individual purposes, what you can do, bring your recycle items and throw into that kind of machine and we can recycle things. So what you see here, they're supposed to play a song for me. That's why I put this wonderful fold. No, there's Louis Armstrong. Yeah, the skies are blue. Right? So that song, if you all know, What a Wonderful World. I can't sing that well, but what a wonderful world. Okay, skies are blue. So this is a wonderful world. When did this song came? 1960s. The song came in 1960s, same time that we had the first landing in moon, 1969. It's the same time we have the big revolution of environment, 1963. Rachel Carson, the book of Silent Spring, has caused the environmental revolution. All happened in 1960s. So that song of What a Wonderful World was inspired by this kind of ideas to save the world. So now, today we have this high resolution picture from 2015. It is called a blue planet. Once we have a color picture, we call that as a blue marble. So we have a responsibility to safeguard this earth as the most intelligent creature on the planet. We have a duty, we have a responsibility. So the question here, at the same time, we do have responsibility for our kids. To send them to school, you need 2 cars in the house. You want them to sleep well in the night and study, so you need more aircon in the house. So the moment we have 2 cars, more aircons, bigger house, bigger salary, you get a bigger house, the energy consumption is growing. And the population is growing because everybody having more children, population is growing. So there's more energy demands. So the challenge is to have more energy, but at the same time, we do not want the earth to warm. We need to save our wonderful world. The challenge here is the energy transition. The world do not want fossil fuels. This is the reality they're talking about. But how real is that? Can that really happen? So the concerns of the renewables, the pace of renewables, the price of renewables, and then can the poor boy in Africa can afford to pay the electricity bill using the most expensive energy on earth to study? Maybe not. So the affordability comes into the picture. So this is the discussions which is challenging the Paris Agreement. Right. So here, I'm just giving you a picture of, let's go back 300 years back. 300 years back, what was the most lucrative business that you can go? What's the lucrative business that you can go into 300 years back? You should be selling firewood, right? So can you ever imagine that you will be in the wood business? No, you can't imagine. And today, later, in the early 1800s, the coal was dominating. Everybody was using coal. And the effect of it, you still can feel in China today, with people are having masks and air pollutions. So people slowly shifted to oil and gas because it's cleaner, and it's also in abundance. And today is the era of oil and gas. 70 to 80% of the energy in the world are supplied from fossil fuels. So now the question is, as we have shifted from wood to fossil fuel, is there a possibility to shift from fossil fuel to renewables in the next end of the century? We are talking about 300 periods of time. It has been proven that there has been a shift. Now the question is, how fast the shift is going to happen? That's the biggest question, right? So are we going to be a solution? What are the pros and cons? It's always half empty and half full glass that we always talk about. There's always pros and cons. It's hard to overcome the momentum of fossil fuel. It's like moving in a car. There's a huge lorry coming in. The lorry cannot suddenly brake if suddenly a motorbike crosses in front. The momentum will continue. That's what you study in physics. So the momentum for fossil fuels are there. But at the same time, the renewables can only pick up the pace unless there's a hope in the change of inertia. Inertia is something that don't want to move. Or if it is moving in that speed, it'll continue with the same speed unless there's another force coming and acting on it. If you are scoring A in your physics in Form 5, you would have known what I'm talking about. That's supposed to be answer for inertia. So unless we change the pace of renewables and the direction of renewables, you will not get the world into zero carbon. So the positive points of renewables is, yes, solar panels are getting cheaper, wind is getting cheaper, there's more improved efficiency, there's innovation in storage. Like 15 years back, you can't even think of everybody is having the kind of lithium-ion batteries in your phone. When I was studying, I don't have a phone. We do not know what is lithium-ion. And today everybody is talking about lithium-ion. But these are the innovations that we are talking about. Hydrogen and high investment in electrification. If you want to get into renewables, the only way is you need to get the electricity supply across to everybody. A lot of people in Africa today don't have access to electricity because why? They don't have a transmission line. If they don't have a transmission line, you can't bring the power to them. And the power can only be generated by renewables or fossil fuels. So first thing is you need a copper wire to transfer the energy to them. Do you have that? No. So what's the best way? It's a challenge there. But let's talk about fossil fuels. There's an abundance of resources. There's a sunk cost. People already invested in a power plant, which will last for the next 30 years. And there's an ability of coal to deliver cheap energy for the poor guy in Africa so that he can study, get a decent job, and then he can support his mother and family. We do not want to deprive the human rights of those people. This is sustainable development. And natural gas remains a competitive fossil fuel because that's the least carbon emitting fuel that you can use for power generation. That's the best thing. And the last one, oil remains as the preferred fuel for road. You can't go to EV today because it's too expensive, even though Elon Musk is really promoting that. Can you buy a Tesla? Do you know the price of a Tesla today? Do you know? $500,000, at least, or at least 600-700. And do you know the cost of hydrogen car? 800,000. Go and ask Sarawak Energy. They just bought one. Bought two, actually. They're fueling it with hydrogen. So this is the cost. Can you buy? Maybe, yeah, Perodua Kanchil. Yes, possible. So fossil fuel is still a choice for a layman on the road. So, as talking about this, now I have 3 slides to go, and that I'll end this. The 3 slides are talking about what you can do in an upstream business, what you can do in downstream, and what you can do to our consumers, customers. In upstream, the advantage is we can advocate natural gas as with carbon capture, utilization, and storage. That means you take the gas, when you burn it, the CO2, you take the CO2, capture it, and you transport it down onto the core of the earth where the oil and gas was there before. And it was trapped there for millions and billions of years. If you put the CO2 back there, we think it will stay there for next a few thousand years. So this is called a carbon capture and storage. That means the CO2 is not emitted to the atmosphere. You generate power through natural gas, which is the least carbon emitting fuel, and the rest of the gas, it goes inside. But the problem is, who's going to pay for this? How to overcome the issue of LNG being a competitive fuel compared to coal. We already talked about coal is the cheapest fuel now, and gas is already expensive. If you put this technology, then who's going to pay for that cost? So the question is now, we should remove the subsidies for renewables and fossil fuels, get equal playing market, and then shall we introduce carbon tax? So I would like to ask some opinion from the floor. What do you think is the solution to promote natural gas? Any ideas, gentlemen? What can we do to promote natural gas industry? Any ideas from the crowd? Guys? Yes.
Impose a tax on coal and maybe petroleum rather than gas, so you reduce the tax amount.
Yep. Introducing a tax. Introducing a tax on high carbon content fuels so that low carbon content fuels will be preferred. Yeah, excellent idea. Any other ideas? How do we promote natural gas and LNG as a low carbon fuel? No? Okay, there's another idea of utilizing the CO2. If you see the chart next to it, it's about utilizing CO2. If you can utilize the CO2 and turn it into products and chemicals, yes, the CO2 will not be in the atmosphere. It won't be in the cloud storage. It will be stored in the plastics that you can see around as what you can get from this area here. This is carbon. This is also utilizing carbon. You can make it into tiles. You can put in your kitchen, in the house. Nice tiles at the back. Right? Try to get your plastic bottle and insert there. No, you will get this one for free. So just for promotion. So this kind of things you can do to utilize the CO2. There's a lot of R&D is going on today. Hopefully there's breakthroughs. PETRONAS is also having a lot of research on utilization of CO2 using bacteria. So bacteria can eat the CO2 and they'll become fuel. And it'll become a biofuel. Right. Okay, next thing what we can do in downstream. This is exactly the same thing that this machine is trying to do in a bigger scale. We feel the oil should not be used as a fuel. The reason is, in order to make that one molecule of oil, it takes millions and billions of years to create that. And what we are doing is taking out, and after that, burning it, just like that. So next time you drive to work, think about it twice. Maybe you should take public transport. So the idea for downstream is, we are shifting from a linear economy to a circular economy. Whatever that we design, we produce, we use, it should go back to design again. It's like a baby is born from a cradle, and then we ended up in a grave. That's linear. I know some people don't believe what I'm going to say. This is like reincarnation. Life after that, you are born again. If you don't believe, doesn't matter. You should believe in the science that you can actually reincarnate every single plastic bottle that you use. And then you don't need to dig and get more oil from the ground. Your business is to make sure the oil which is already transformed on the ground to be reused again. This is the energy being reused again and again. Right? This is the concept of the downstream should be promoting. As a start, we can talk about the industry accepting the oil and gas consumers to accept plastics and lubricants. Imagine we have 1,000 over petrol stations for PETRONAS, and Shell has a few, Exxon has a few, Chevron has a few. If all of them can accept plastic waste and get back to their own industry to be used in the downstream as a feedstock, how wonderful is that to solve the problem of plastics not being ended up in the ocean, and we solve the issue of other people sending plastic waste and dumping into our country. We become a solution, not a problem. We become a solution. And the last one I'm going to talk about, customer. We hardly think about our customer. We talk about upstream, downstream. We like to do things in the house. Let's talk about cleaning up outside the house. What we can do to the customer. In mobility and electricity, there should be a shift to a low carbon mobility. People should be using efficient vehicles. The hybrid vehicles are more efficient than the normal petrol and diesel engines. So we are talking about hybrids. The possibility for hydrogen fuel is there. Japan is really pushing for hydrogen economy. The advantage is if you have a pipeline, you are transporting gas today, fantastic. You have infrastructure to transport hydrogen. You can blend in hydrogen into the same pipeline, and then you have hydrogen and methane together inside as a start. So you don't need a new infrastructure, maybe a slight modification on the pressure and the temperature. Yes, you can use hydrogen. So if you can supply hydrogen to the same customers in the power plant, as well as for the cars and vehicles, we can make a better place. And the last one you can see, this is electric. Tesla is charging. That's one direction. And this car is hydrogen. Toyota is going in the other direction. So there's two directions here. So we do not know which one will pick up. Early 1900, electric vehicle was already introduced. But fossil fuel, ICE, internal combustion engine, ICE, became more economical. So now we are at the crossroad of we are going to electric or hydrogen, right? So this is the challenges that I'm talking about, and there's a possible to shift into a better embracing renewables industry, right? Before embracing renewables, we have a lot of things that we can clean up as an industry. So do you have any ideas that you would like to share? Then this is my end of the presentation, unless you have any ideas to share. Anyone would like to say anything on the ideas of how we can do something in the petrochemical industry? Sir, how about you, sir? What's your name, sir?
I'm Chung. I'm Chung from Petronas Chemical. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I think in terms of resolving the sustainable future, I believe there's a lot of options available for us to tap on. And as we hear in the plenary discussions, sustainable is one thing, but affordability is one thing, and security and so-called stability of supply is also one thing. I think at the end of the day, the solution is there from technology standpoint. It is up to the industry and the society to put together. Wonderful, thank you.
Well said, thank you, Mr. Chung. And well said, I think that's the conclusion for my presentation today. Together, we be part of the climate and energy solution. You can't separate the climate and energy solutions differently. Today, climate is just the other side of the same coin. And sustainable development is the coin. Thank you very much.